Hello, everybody. I'm Sean. I think we actually think we all know everybody. So,
I don't think so.
oh, maybe not. Okay, well, good. We'll have a chance to hear from each other. That's kind of the body of this is hearing each other share about what Bill meant to them and funny stories, serious stories, whatever you want. But I just want to say welcome. And if you haven't, there are some kind of programs in back. You can kind of see what's happening at what point, but it's pretty simple. So even if you don't have one, you'll be okay. But be thinking of your favorite Bill story because we're going to ask you to share. Basically, we're going to do a few things in here, including the main thing, which is sharing about Bill. And then right at 5 or earlier, we'll go out, for those who want to, we're going to go out to the Madden Lodge beach dock and scatter some of Bill's ashes. The rest of his ashes will be buried up at St. Thomas of the Pines. And also, there's a guest book. After this, we want to try to stay in touch. And if you want to know each other's addresses, or emails especially in this day and age, we're not always, I don't know that we've ever all been in a room like this before. So it will be good to stay in touch with each other. And one easy way is that guest book. Regarding videotaping, this mic is a little loud, so I'm going to turn it down. But what's happening technically is audio is going from here through this mixer and directly into that mic so that it's really clear audio. All of Bill's children and grandchildren will watch this eventually, as well as Tom Klein, our brother, and others who might want to see it. So what we'll do is when it comes time for that, we'll just ask you to, I'll even turn this down further so you don't have to listen to your own voice much, but speaking into telling your stories into here is going to help us capture these memories. So when that time comes, just as a forewarning. Next in your program, you'll see acknowledgments, because there's a few people that really helped make this happen. And I would like to, there's Peggy's, okay, I'm good, Peggy's here. I'd like to give, hold your applause until I mention these folks, but some people really worked hard to make this happen. And first of all, Kathleen Epperson in back, Bill's wife for years and years. Thank you, Kathleen. Without your leadership, we probably would have had some other version of this, but you really took the bull by the horns early and helped our family get together to honor and memorialize Bill and have some fun. So thank you, Kathy. Oh, let's just say thank you to Kathy. That whole hold your applause thing kind of works sometimes, not others. And secondarily, Debbie Thuringer, thanks for the use of this room. Thanks for Debbie is co-hosting with Peggy the first round of drinks after we scatter ashes, and has opened up the hotel, the resort, for all of us to be here, and has for years and years. I mean, this is the hospitality business, and you are hospitable. So thanks, Debbie. And last but not least, I spent a little bit of time on the phone with Peggy, who is now the matriarch of the Jack and Peg Madden family. And we love Peggy so much, and she's also co-hosting the first round a little bit later. And so thank you so much, Peggy, for what you're having. Thanks, Peggy. And also, Peggy is making it, that plot available in the cemetery. So this kind of came at the last minute where Peggy said, wait a minute, we can have the whole family right in a row. And that's a big deal. So thanks again, Peggy. One of the things I was thinking about as we put this together was there are basically 5 generations of Maddens. And the Johnsons basically are Madden, so feel included. Johnson, Madden. There's basically 5 generations of Maddens in this room, and kind of three streams. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, and I'm going to try to speak a little and let you guys speak a lot. But just to think about how our family, and again, Johnsons feel included, how our family kind of is and is in this room right now. We've got William James Madden in Stillwater, and his brother Tom. So they're the kind of the patriarchs. All the Huntings from the Tom Madden side with Mary Jane, your mom, and then from William James, William John, WJM Jr., and Jim, Debbie's dad. So you've got those two Maddens coming along. No, there's no test. There's no test. I'm an audio guy, and that bothers me, so I'm going to do this. It might be a little close for comfort. But so when we think of Bill, again, we have Peggy here. So there was Peggy and Bill and Judy, and Mom, Sue and my and Tom's mom passed away in 2007. So that was tough, but now we've lost Bill, so we're so happy to have Peggy here with us, and she's doing well. And feel free to talk to Peggy when we're seriously. And with Bill, just some people. The reason we're doing this video is there are 7 people who aren't here, who are direct, Bill's children and grandchildren. Bill's got Rosemary and Sean and Maggie, all out in California, and Rosemary's got a son named Sterling. Sean's got 2 kids named Ellie and Ivy, 2 daughters, and Maggie has Margot. So we're here with their dad, and as you can see by these pictures, Bill loved being a dad and a grandfather. And so, in essence, those 7 people that would be the fourth generation. 5th, that's the 5th. So I'm not going to bore you with heredity or heritage anymore. And then Doug and Kay Johnson. Thinking of how Jack, it's just kind of fitting that we're here in the Jack Madden executive dining room, I remember as a 10-year-old, the door used to be kind of right over there, and those of you who knew Jack, pretty much everybody in here did. Not everybody, but as a 10-year-old, I had, there's this term people say, the fear of God, I don't know if I was afraid of God, but I was a little bit wary of my grandpa. And I would, somebody said, well, just go ask Grandpa, see if we can do it. Okay. And I'd come to that door that was right there, and he'd be working at his desk or whatever, and I'd say, Grandpa? And he'd say, come here. And he'd put me on his lap, and he'd hug me, and it was nice, and it was, he was a great grandpa. But there was a sense, at least when I was little, of kind of a powerful fellow, and I think he was that. But Doug Johnson and Jack Madden and Jim became very good friends, and so the whole Doug Johnson family, I see Dick and Judy and Penn, and you guys are, in fact, when I was talking with Peggy on the phone, it was like, are we actually separate families, or are we all kind of one? I don't know, legally maybe we're not family, but in essence we are, so welcome to the Johnsons too. In fact, let's just say thanks for being part of our lives for all these years.
Sean, I could interject one thing there.
Yeah.
Even to make that closer, Doug delivered me.
Well, there you go.
Their father.
There you go.
So
See?
he was the first one that
Met you. That is a good story. Mine isn't so
intimate.
Yeah, well, it felt intimate to me. I wrote down, we lived on Juniper Street in Brainerd, and with my friends when I was 12 years old, we were tough little kids, and we thought we'd do whatever. We were hotshots. And so there was, right where Juniper Street, it's probably changed by now, but there was a steep dirt road that went down to the Mississippi River. And it was real soft sand. And so we were all daring each other to go down, and I'll go. And so I went down, and I pedaled like twice, and the front tire hit that soft sand. The bike stopped. I didn't. I flew. The next thing I remember was about a half an hour later, walking along Juniper Street up to our house, and I had a concussion. I was out, but I was functioning. I said, what was I talking to? He said, oh, yeah, you were talking to us. We're walking home. And so with the NFL and all the concussion stuff, I know what it's like to be functional, but unconscious, kind of in essence. Anyway, my eye filled with blood. And so Mom took me to see Doug to make sure that I wasn't going to lose my eye or eyesight or whatever. Everything turned out fine. But yes, Johnsons, thank you for being part of our family. For medical reasons and other. Mostly for other. In fact, We're going to hear a little bit about, I knew Bill pretty well. There's some certain parts of my life and experience that I want to share with you just a little bit. But knowing Bill's life, I want to tell a funny story that I heard recently that I thought of Bill when I heard this story. So it goes like this. There was a son sleeping on a Sunday morning, and his mom came into his room and said, son, he kind of nudged him and said, it's time to get up, we've got to go to church. And he said, so he rolled back over. 5 minutes later, she goes back to his room and says, son, wake up, it's time to go to church, we got to go. And he looked up through his squinty eyes and he said, there's 2 reasons I don't want to go to that church. Number 1, those people don't like me. And number 2, I don't like those people. And so the mom, with her quick, wise response said, well, I've got 2 reasons you should go. Number 1, you're 42 years old. And number 2, you're the pastor. Oh, I'm sure that describes some of Bill's experience as a pastor. I don't like those people, and they don't like me. Let's move on. Okay, so one of the things that events like this sometimes have is a moment called invocation, which means kind of turning our hearts above, kind of thinking about some deeper things for a second. And I want to just take a second to do that. And in that, connect it to Bill. And to do that, I want to go back 168 years from now, 2018. Let's go back to 1850. In 1850, right here on this beautiful lake, a guy named James Lloyd Breck approached Chief Hole in the Day, and he said, I've got dentistry, I've got medical knowledge and supplies, and I like to teach. He was a real educator. I like to teach people how to read, so I've got literacy, and I'd like permission from you, the chief, to interact with your folks in the tribe. Is that okay? And Chief Hole in the Day said, thumbs up. It's a long story. You can read it in his book, but Chief said, yes, do that. In reading some more about that story, this point, Mission Point, was James Lloyd Breck was called the Apostle of the Wilderness, and did a lot of missionary outreaches here on Gull Lake. In fact, the very first Native American, wasn't America back then, but Native church was on this lake. The very first Native church west of the Mississippi. So you imagine, you got the Mississippi, you got a whole half of the United States. The very first Native church was you know where St. Columba Road is? If you go up St. Columba Road, there's actually a marker. The St. Columba Mission was the mission church that James Lloyd Breck built with the full endorsement of Chief Hole in the Day on this lake. And I know Lake Minnetonka gets a lot of press, especially in the cities where I live, but this lake is like seriously historic as far as especially the Episcopal Church and their outreach to Native Americans. So I read a story. I tried to find the article so I could cite it today, but a story of this point, Mission Point, being filled with birch bark canoes, 50 to 100 canoes, when James Lloyd Breck would do meetings here, right here. And so this kind of cross-cultural, the Ojibwe here on the lake, and this guy from St. Paul comes up here, and this mixing of culture. So there's kind of an honor, and since I've been doing some research about that for the last 10 or 15 years, the Ojibwe background of what Gull Lake was and its interaction with white folks. Most of us here, let me think if I can find somebody who's not a white, everybody's white folks here. It's a good story. There's some really tough stuff. There's some sad stuff. But some of the stuff, especially dental, I mean, when dentistry came to the Ojibwe, it was a big deal. So there's cross-cultural stuff that was happening right here at Mission Point and on Gull Lake. Bill, as some of you know, was also not afraid of crossing cultures. He was a guy who he saw the world from a position of, I'm not sure, justice or from a perspective that allowed him to kind of go to different cultures and different places and feel comfortable in that. So in Kathleen, you can help me. What year do you think it was down in Louisiana? I just need to know the year because I'm going to read a quote from Bill.
Oh, in the 50s.
Late 50s, maybe?
60s.
Probably early 60s.
Yeah.
62? Okay.
Yeah.
So Bill, again, the theme of cross-cultural, in fact, Kathleen sent me this quote that Bill had written. During the civil rights movement, Bill was impassioned and led to be part of it and do what he could do. So this is just 3 sentences about one of his visits to Mindell, Louisiana. So this is quote, Bill, Minden. Bill wrote this: "Many Southerners were furious with us. Some people were so angry that they had just murdered 3 white civil rights workers. And to protect myself, I bought a jalopy with a souped-up engine," which I thought was funny when I read that. "One day, while I was driving with both black and whites in my car, a pickup truck of whites started chasing us. You can imagine, to their surprise and my relief, we left them in the dust." So from James Lloyd Brecht to Bill Madden, this place and those lives really were cross-cultural in lots of ways. So with that, I just want to check. We are going to be done in here. Yeah, we've got 45 minutes. So most of this is going to be us sharing. But with that, I wanted to have music be part of this.
Can I
Yeah, go
can I do this on? Can I do full circle on your story?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Bill took all of us to Minden and introduced us to the people he registered to vote.
In fact, after this
Yeah.
check, there's a picture of that on that
Right.
board.
And then his children went, and 2 of them didn't marry, 2 have children that are African American, and all 4 children have First Nation blood in them, all 4 grandchildren.
Mm. That sets up this next part perfectly. So invocation means turning our heart towards things above, going deeper to kind of set the stage. That doesn't mean you can't tell some funny stories, because I've got some funny stories about Bill. But just to put a little music into this, and really in what you just said, the native indigenous folks, I've got two pieces of music. One is an Ojibwe prayer song. Just going to play 45 seconds of it, and I want to hear that. And just imagine the folks who were on this land and all around this lake were singing and praying like this. And then the second song that we'll do is one portion of a song that Kathleen shared, that when Bill and Kathleen were running a church's ministry, this was one of the songs that they would often play, and it was meaningful to her and to Bill. So I'm going to play both of those. So we're just kind of stop talking and hear a little bit of music, not too much. And then,
And while he's setting this up,
Bill also went to Alaska, and he taught First Nation people in Alaska.
That's so, and I know Maggie is very involved in the Indigenous people movement. So that felt appropriate to just to get a sense of it.
Living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, and use me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh, fall afresh, fall afresh on me.
That's called invocation. Going to a deeper place. I'm going to share just a little bit about my experience with my Uncle Bill, and then we're going to open it up and everybody can share. And as I considered this and kind of thought about it and meditated on it, 5 words. The top 5 words. And the first one was wonder. My Uncle Bill helped me wonder and see the world kind of beyond what I could as a 6-year-old. And how did he do that? Primarily at the beginning was magic. When Sue and I and Tom would sit up on Strawberry Hill. I remember I was probably 6 years old, the first clear magic act that I remember from Uncle Bill. And he would do a trick. I mean, you know, when I was an adult, we could have figured out how they do it. But as a kid, it's like, that's mad. The Chinese rings. I remember I was very jealous of my sister because he said, Sue, come with me. I want to show you how the Chinese rings work. And Tom and I sat there like, what? They went around the corner and then they came back and said, did you find them? So on the one hand, it was wonder and awe of magic, but it was also, he kind of let people in on the trick. So it wasn't, there was a performance and a fun entertainment part of it. So that wonder, I think was part of his personality. And I think, like for all of us, especially, I mean, a lot of people here have worked at this resort, this very resort. I know, like a lot of it. And some people run the resort. That's hard work too. In fact, I've said to friends, they said, well, where'd you grow up? I said, I grew up in Gull Lake up in Brainerd. And at Madden, said, oh, really? That must have been great. And I said, it was until I was 15. And at 15, my grandpa Jack said, you can work at the first tee on Pine Beach East. And then it wasn't as much fun anymore. So my motto is that the best way to ruin a resort is work there. Ruin the experience. Although that doesn't ruin it. But it is a lot of work. Last time I checked, this grass is actually growing right now as we're doing this little service. That grass is growing, and someone's going to have to come and cut it in a couple of few days or a week. Beaches erode, and shingles fly off, or whole entire roofs fly off. And actually I get kind of emotional because, you know, even though we didn't talk a lot at that moment when that was happening, but that was like a personal attack to me. I'm just a guy sitting in Minneapolis, but thinking of you guys, and the Madden Inn clubhouse burning down. These are like personal assaults on us, you know. But so Bill was a man of wonder, but his dad wanted him to work and put Bill to work. And in talking to Kathleen, I said, well, does Bill have like a favorite song? And she said, yeah, he does. I've been working on the railroad. Now, Brainerd is a railroad town. I mean, the genesis of the city is where Brainerd is. It like where was it?
Yeah.
The genesis of Brainerd is the railroad, but Bill's favorite song apparently was "I've Been Working on the Railroad," and I thought that's so curious. So I went online and listened to a song Johnny Cash version, actually. And there is a great line. I have never heard this line. And so for those of you who are currently in the resort business, providing vacations for others, or who have been, listen to these words. There is a line in here that you'll hear it when it comes up, which is, I think, why this was probably Bill's favorite song. But what he did, according to Kathleen, is instead of "I've been working on the railroad," he changed it to "I've been working at the garbage dump." Because one of his early jobs, assigned probably by Jack Madden, was to drive garbage. And I'm not sure if that was couldn't have been the Brainerd dump. It was probably, I don't know what dump it was back in the 50s, but there was a dump and his job was to take the garbage to the dump. And he didn't like it. So he would sing this song. And listen for the line I'm talking about. Again, I had never heard this until last week when I pulled it up. Here we go. We won't play the whole song, but.
Down at the station, early in the morning, see the little puffer bellies all in a row. Some folks go to work and others take vacations. One took Melinda to California. Oh, don't go, Melinda, please don't go. You didn't see the tea cakes I brung you from the fair. I've been working on the railroad
See him driving the truck with the garbage.
all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Can't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up so early in the morn. Can't you hear the captain shouting? Dinah, blow your horn. Oh, Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn?
And it repeats. Thanks for singing, everybody. That's cool. Okay, part of this. That actually, when I first heard that, it reminded me of me growing up here with Paul Bunyan, or with Paul Bunyan's a competitor. With Lumbertown and the train going around the tracks and singing that song. It's like, wow, that was a long time ago. That was not a digital world back then. It was an analog world. The second word that, okay, there's going to be one more piece of music at the end of this, but no one did, so sorry. The second word that hit me with Bill was seek, because I knew my Uncle Bill was a seeker, a guy who said, this is God's country. In fact, he used to say, I've heard him say many times, multiple times to me, you can take the boy out of Gull Lake, but you can never take Gull Lake out of the boy. And he would say, he'd elbow me, or we'd be talking, and he'd say, Father, remember, you said, you're like me, you can take a boy out of Gull Lake, but you can't take Gull Lake out of the boy. It's true, it's somehow it's in my bones. But he looked at this God's country, and he's the word seek. He said, I want to know the God of God's country. And he encouraged me to seek. In fact, when I was 20 years old, I was up in California staying at Kathleen and Bill's house. And he said, the night before, someone said, you come to school with me tomorrow. And I said, can I? I mean, like, they let just people come in. He said, yeah, it'll be okay. So I was 20, and he was encouraging, he wasn't really even preaching to me. He just said, Sean, you can seek the God of God's country. Come with me, and maybe you'll learn something there that helps you in your belief system. So I attended Thomas Starr King School of Divinity for a day with my Uncle Bill. Yeah, 2019, that was 1982. And I was a little bit uncomfortable, but he said it was okay, so we'd sit in class and the professor's talking and go to the next class. We did a whole day of school, and it was fascinating. And most of it was over my head, and it was kind of like, I don't know, I was in the middle of the class, so I don't know exactly what they were learning. But it hit me that he was a seeker, and he wanted to know and converse and talk, and he encouraged me as his nephew to do the same thing. The next word was believe. He encouraged me to, like he did and Kathleen did, believe something. He didn't, again, he wasn't pushy about what you should believe. He loved the discussion. And we had lots and lots of discussions. He'd send me books, and I'd send him longhand letters of things, the thoughts I had about the books he'd send me. And he encouraged belief. And the reason I say that was powerful for me is, at that point in my life, kind of in my 20s, I heard a few different things. There is no God. Don't worry about it. There's none. Or maybe there is one, but nobody can know anything about it. So don't even worry, because you can't know. He said, you can know some things. I know some things. I encourage you to know some things. Decide what you want to believe. It's your decision. Seek the way you want and believe something. Again, he wasn't pushy. He just encouraged the process. And along with belief, he also showed, it didn't make it to the list of 5 words, but with belief was respect. He said, and respect others and what they believe. You might come to a position in a spot where you believe a certain thing. That doesn't nullify other people's beliefs. So be respectful in your belief. And I learned that partly from my Uncle Bill. The 4th word, gather. Just like the magic show up at Strawberry Hill, there was something that happened when it was almost like, come on kids, gather around. And there was a group, a little bit like this. I think this, in fact, I just want to honor and dedicate this gathering to Bill and how he loved to gather people. And that something happened in community that wouldn't happen in isolation. And the magic acts with an audience, founding at least one church, multiple churches. That Kathleen and Bill, 2 churches that they put together. In fact, if you look in there, you probably will find the ones that there's a whole crowd of people, 2 different places that where kind of it's a shot of Bill and Kathleen and some of the church folks. So he was a gatherer. He loved people to be in relationship and community. And that was powerful for me to receive as a nephew. And the 5th word was love. At the end of the day, if somebody said, what do you think, Uncle Bill? Well, I don't know, but I know he loves me. I knew he loved me. And Kathleen said that. She goes, boy, he sure loved you kids. I thought, I know, it's kind of weird. Like, he didn't love me because he called my mom and said, give me the top 10 or 20 or 100 things that they've been doing and let me see if they measure up. It wasn't that. It was, he just was my uncle and he loved me. And it had a huge effect on me. You figure people should do that. It's easy, and it's easy to find people that just unconditionally love. And we all know people who do, and we all try to. But Bill unconditionally loved me, and I will forever be a different person because of that. Those are my 5 words. I had a lot more time than you guys do thinking about what I was going to say. So anybody who showed up with notes, no, I have no. What I'd like to do is, Kathleen's got this mic, and if you can, I'll turn this down so it's not so much that you're talking to the room, but so that the camera can hear. Who's got a funny story? Who's got something? Who knows more about the garbage stuff? Who fill us in on a story about Bill? Let's go. Let's open it up to everybody.
Well, I'm Roger Lynn, and I was Bill's fraternity brother at the Teak fraternity house back in Minnesota. And Bill and I roomed together, and Bill had this unique way of approaching the day. He figured out that if he slept, went to bed, an hour later every day, he'd get an extra hour in the day. He'd have 25 hours in the day. And so he did that, and we had bunk beds. I was in the top bunk, and he was in the bottom bunk, and he made it so that he could be completely in the dark. And so sometimes he'd be sleeping when I'd be awake, and sometimes, but he just did it very methodically. And the thing that irritated me the most was that he got A's. And we were always competing, and at one time we were skiing together, and we were racing down the hill together, and to see who would win, and we tied. I know that because at the bottom we both shooshed toward each other and smashed. And for a long time I had the bent ski pole to testify to that, and we would periodically over the years get together, and always when we got together, the first thing we do was fight. We'd fight and argue, and somehow always come out on the good side of it, but it was part of the ritual. And so I always have a lot of fond memories of Bill.
There's so much more than Roger. I know that you got lots of stories.
Yeah.
I'm not putting pressure on you, but
Yeah.
it's just good. I know he was such a good friend.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Penn Johnson. I remember an early story about Bill. Bill was a showman, but I don't know if you knew that he was a showman when he was about 6 years old. Jack and Peg and the family were living at the Pine Edge Inn, and in the wintertime, up here in the summer, and we were summoned to Jack's living room one Saturday afternoon where Billy was going to put on a show. Well, this is before the Magic days, I believe, and he proceeded to put on a puppet show. And I'll always remember this because of the line. But he had this one puppet, little hand puppet, and he'd open it up by saying, "Hello, I'm Billy Madden. Ho hum." Billy Madden says, "Ho hum," and then he'd go to sleep. And a little while later, Billy Madden is awake. Ho hum, ho hum. So I always remember Billy Madden, ho hum, ho hum. There was a second and third act which were just exactly the same as the first act. I also remember, I remember Billy was a boat boy down here. The marina at that time consisted of 7 wooden Larson boats, rowboats, and you could rent a 5-horse motor if you wanted to pay extra for that. But the boats were free. They came with but the whole marina was right down this shore, and was one 3-section dock. That was it, and a sailboat that nobody really knew how to sail, and that was it. Who's next?
Well, I'm Judy Johnson Fry, and thank you for the tribute to our families, because we do go way back. I do remember the whole hum. I must have been 3. But my next memory of Billy was one Christmas when I was 4. We, both families and maybe some more, went to Florida to Lauderdale by the Sea. And for Christmas, Rutgers, I guess, and it was it was a concrete block.
They were just opening a restaurant.
It was pretty simple, but it was a very big deal for us to go down there for Christmas, and we were doing it in lieu of gifts. So we drew names, and I believe we were allowed to spend 25 cents on the person whose name we drew, and I think I was the culprit for getting Billy's name. Well, that wasn't the bad thing. I bought him a necktie, and he was distraught that his only gift that year was a necktie, the last thing he would want. Later in my youth, I worked for Billy's magic shows that were then at the where the tennis courts are now. It was the Summer Theater. And I don't know, it was frequently, it was the entertainment for the whole resort system. But Judy and I would sell tickets, and then we'd sell pop and have to sometimes assist Bill too. He loved those shows, and he had people entranced. He was great. So, but I remember his smile and his kindness as well.
So I remember I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I think it was in the fall, and Uncle Bill had a magic convention to go to in Fargo, North Dakota. And I'd never gone anywhere else. I'd never gone anywhere without my mom and my dad. So this was a really big deal, and we're going to stay in a motel, and we're going to go to a couple of magic shows. Because now, Sean has described very aptly that we loved the magic, and he taught us a few tricks. Here I'm going with my uncle, and I'm so excited. Little did I know, I think he was setting me up, because I was the only little girl in any of those audiences. The rest of them, they were all, magicians, establishing their repertoire and everything. So everywhere we went, I'm always getting pulled out of the audience to assist. I think I found out, though, that I really liked being the assistant, being the cute little girl in the audience, because after the first or second time, I didn't have a problem. And one of my favorite memories of the whole thing was that when part of the show was you could purchase new tricks, and he bought me a trick. And it's about, how to card read. You have to slip a card in an envelope and then put it to your head like, what was the guy? Johnny Carson, exactly. Karnak. And so that's what I had to do, and he was teaching me how to do. We were rehearsing it, and of that age, I also knew Johnny Carson, so I loved him. And he told me about Karnak. But when he what I did was I put it to my head, and then I took it and I blew the envelope open. Now I didn't realize that is exactly what Johnny Carson always used to do. I just figured that would be the easiest way to get it, so I could get my fingers in there. And when he told me I did it just like Johnny Carson, I was so happy. He made my day, because everybody, Johnny was another kind of a god then. So that's one of my, I've got a lot of magic trick memories of him, but that's the one I'm going to hold on to for the best. Mm-hmm.
Do you need to have this close to your mouth to have it
No,
record?
it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to be first?
No.
My name is Roger Cuthbertson. There was another Roger Lynn here that spoke earlier. He knew Bill, and I called him Bill then, and later Will. But Roger Lynn knew Bill before I did. We were both, but Roger Lynn and I had grown up together and spent a lot of time together. So anyway. It was the time that we were in college at University of Minnesota, and one evening, actually it was 2 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from those two guys. And why they called me is I guess they figured I was likely the only other person that they knew that would be up at that time in the morning. So they called me up, and Roger was first to speak. He said, "My friend Bill Madden needs a shovel, and we don't have a shovel." And I think they were shoveling coal out of the coal bin at the fraternity house. I'm not sure, something like that. So could they come over and borrow my shovel? And I said, well, of course. I mean, this is good, but this friend of yours, Bill, I'll probably never see him again. I'll tell you what, I'll just sell him the shovel, because I'll never see him again, and I'll give him a good price, $2 or something like that. So sure enough, they came over, and I sold them the shovel. We had a great time that night. I don't know I think we probably saw the sun come up, because that's the way it was when we were together. Bill was really fun to be with. You just never knew where you were going to go with him. It could be uncomfortable, it could be funny, or it could be anything, but it just wasn't going to be just ordinary, usually. So I just want to add to that, here the deal was that I sold him the shovel. I thought I'd never see him again, and we got to be pretty good friends and did a lot of things together, including the time when, I got into mountain climbing, and I got to know Bill very well, intimately well. We were hanging on to each other on this trip of the mountain climbing thing. Well, it wasn't. he wasn't into mountain climbing so much. He was more reflective and liked to meditate and stuff like that. But I talked him into this trip in the Tetons, where I had already climbed the Grand and Mount Owen and Baxter's Pinnacle and stuff like that. But I got to share this with Bill. So we took the boat across Jenny Lake and we hiked up this long trail way up and up. And I always had to keep coaxing Bill along because he just wanted to sit and meditate. It was a beautiful place, I mean, there was every good reason to sit and meditate because painters go there and spend days doing it and stuff like that. But I wanted him to get up to this place that I knew it was going to be so good, So I pushed and pushed, and he went farther than I think he really wanted to go. And finally, I realized, too late actually, that we weren't going to make our destination. We had a good time, but besides that, there was a good chance that we wouldn't make it back to catch the last boat. So across Jenny Lake. So we started going down, and sure enough, it got dark before we even got to Jenny Lake. So I don't know if you've ever been in a pine forest when there's no moon and when it's after dark. I mean, it's the blackest black. It's like being in a cave. You can't see your hand in front of your face. So there Bill and I are. The boat's gone. We want to get back to civilization. We had to not only get to Jenny Lake, but hike around Jenny Lake. There was a trail, but you can't see your feet even, let alone see the trail. And we were hanging on to each other, so we at least wouldn't get separated. And so that's how I got to know Bill very well, touching well.
So, Roger, are you sure he wanted to meditate or just take a nap?
I'm R.D. Hunting. I'm Bill's cousin. How old was Bill when he started doing his magic? He was a teenager, and he was doing earlier. Yeah, he could have been doing magic when he was 12. And my family has been coming up to the resort since I was about this high. And it's a very early memory I have of Bill. I could have been maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time, and my best guess is that we were in Lumbertown at the time, and Bill was on stage doing his magic show. And was he, you think he was getting paid by the management here?
I don't know how that worked out.
Union scale, do you think that time? Yeah. But I remembered this because, Susie, you were indicating how, he had an inclination to have an assistant on stage, a young assistant. And it's a very early memory, maybe 4 or 5 years old. And he said, R.D., you, young man, get up here. And I wish it were a clear memory. Maybe Bill knew hypnosis as well. Maybe he could bring it back under hypnosis. But I know, as a good magician, Bill was doing a card trick, and he would probably have sort of opened the cards out in front of me, told me to pick a card, put it on my head, look at it, and think about it, and then probably went into a full storytelling routine, taking me down 3 or 4 different roads by the time he came back, and he said, "It's the 3 of hearts, right? Is that it?" And it's like, I forgot. It's like I was so mesmerized by his story. But I do remember being very young and not being entirely comfortable on stage. There were some bright lights and a big bunch of people. But he was just, he knew exactly what he was doing. And I was sort of just hypnotized by him. But I think I set him off a little bit because I didn't follow through well on my part of the trick by forgetting it.
We got time for a couple more before we do the ashes.
Oh, good.
Hi, I just have a quickie. First of all, I want to thank you so much because you're doing a great job, Sean. And then I want to say that I was thinking about Bill's motives, and one of them was to help people. He really wanted to help people. And another one was he wanted to succeed in business, because his father and grandfather had both succeeded in business. And he tried several businesses, and my husband said, well, I don't know, one of these times he's going to make it, but I don't know if he really did, but he tried. That's my word.
Yeah. I just want to say, the first time Bill took me here to Madden's, I had never seen snow fall out of the sky. I'd seen snow, but never fall. And we were out up in the house, and it was Christmas time, and it started snowing. And I ran out onto the deck, and I was just enchanted with it, and I caught it with my tongue, and I let it fall on my jacket, and I ran looking for a magnifying glass to see were they really all different. Okay, that's my first time at Madden's. This may be my last time at Madden's. I was walking around this morning, and I saw this little thing. I said, is this starting to rain? And I said, it's lighter, it's slower than rain. And it just started, and it was snowing on me. And I was so excited. And it doesn't snow in September at Madden's. I know that. I've heard enough people complain about it. So I went. Shirley and I were having lunch, and I finally said, I wonder if Bill is here making the snow for me, because this is my, the first time, last time. And when I said that, immediately there was a huge fletch of snow went by. Wow. And then and it would come and go, and then all of a sudden I said, and Shirley was really enjoying the snow, and I said, I wonder if he's also in blessing our relationship. And there was another huge So my sense is that Bill is really pleased and moved by all of us being here, and he's letting us know that he is present. Yeah. And and there are some pictures back there, and what I did is I had that Sean pulled together, but I put an album, is it down there on the floor? And we're going to put it out where everyone can have access to it if they want to. There. And in here are those pictures plus more with dates and little stories, like the time he took me hiking up a mountain in the Yosemite, one of the highest mountains, in a thunderstorm with a baby on his back. And I was terrified, because you just don't go hiking the highest mountain in a thunderstorm with lightning, So it's like, but all kinds of, he was really an adventurer. The first time we were here, he had to test whether he could still how fast he could go around a corner in the snow on an icy road without going off the road. Of course, if you're testing that, you really have to test it. And Jack's beautiful car ended up in a bank of snow. So anyway, so we're going to put this where people can see it. And if there's anyone other sharing?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, so I'm the least connected here.
No,
but I am. Nobody's not connected, right? Okay, well, there's a few of us. But I kept, when I read the obituary and now listening to this, it was like he was an octopus in a way, and you all are the body of the octopus. And he was reaching out, pulling stuff in to the body, to you. And that was really quite special. I mean, so many of us stay relatively confined, but he was one of the least confined people I've ever read about in any obituary anywhere. And so he was, in a sense, touching so much, bringing it back to you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You summed it up beautifully. Yeah, you summed it up beautifully. Anyone else?
So here's what we're going to do. I've got a song that I think really captures Bill and the way he lived life. And I think, just like you said, Kathleen, it's also an encouragement to us. This isn't over now. We're going to go and scatter the ashes and then continue with dinner. By the way, for those of you who aren't staying for dinner, there's a first round that's complimentary and hors d'oeuvres. So even if you're not staying for dinner, stick around for a little while. Tell some more stories. I've got some stories I haven't told. One that I actually thought, I don't know if I can tell the story. It's actually, and I'm not sure if I can yet, but
Have a couple of
come and ask me to come on here. 'Cause it's a very natural, physical, funny story. But, you know, Peggy said it, and I think maybe Bill's older sister knows so well. Bill loved to help people. And he was a good friend, and he one of the things I didn't say, but I think was true, I saw my grandfather, Jack, a builder, a visionary, changing outward external things. He was excellent at it. And I saw a part of Bill that was more internally focused. Like what's going on in here, what's going on. And I think that's, maybe he's touched us all by his seeking and his internal journeys have touched us all. And he also was vulnerable at times. And I just want to play this song. And I'm going to say a quick prayer. We're going to play the song. And when the song's over, let's just, those who want, head out to the dock. We're going to do a short scattering of the ashes and then come back here. Father, I thank you for this parade. It seems so short. And the length of time that we've spent here in no way captures our friend, my uncle, our cousin, our brother, Bill. He was such a gift to us. We can feel him here, even just these stories. It is so good to celebrate a like brother. And we're impacted by Bill even long after this gathering. So we thank you for Bill. We celebrate Bill Madden. And we celebrate each other in this room and beyond dinner. Can't even past that. Amen.
Amen.
When I heard this song, it just felt like Bill. So just let it speak to your heart. Let Bill speak to your heart.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for no one can feel those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till If you need a friend, call me. If you need a friend, if you ever need a friend, call me. 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 If you need a friend.
And I think for all of us who have spent so much time up here, it is so fitting to scatter some of Bill's ashes into Gull Lake, which is really kind of a sacred, historic lake. I'm going to say a quick prayer, and then Aunt Peggy had the thought of reading the 23rd Psalm, and so I'm going to do that. When I'm done, Sue's going to scatter some of Bill's ashes, and as you know, the rest of those will be interred up at the St. Thomas of the Pines Cemetery. So Father, again, thank you that you're not tired of hearing us talk to you, because we just prayed in there. But really, in this spot, hearing the lapping of that water, a sound we've all heard so often. Father, this precious and sacred, precious place, beautiful Gull Lake. How did we all end up here together? What we have, we thank you for it. We treasure each other, and we treasure this place. Today we celebrate Bill, we treasure him, and we participate in watching and allowing some of his ashes to be scattered into this lake he loved so much. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Rest in peace, Uncle Bill. Amen.